Problem with jealousy, and it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and I know better, but it's just like it'll happen really fast. And I have many good things in my life, and so I want to know, like...
Well, first of all, what jealousy is, when jealousy comes over you, it's an indication, isn't it?
Yes.
When jealousy comes over you, it means that in that moment, you're focused upon something that you want in an upstream direction. In other words, something's happened that has amplified your awareness of who you really are and what you really want, but in this moment, you're thinking a thought that opposes it. That's what the feeling of jealousy is. So of course you're wanting to let go of whatever that thought is and find a better feeling thought. So when the feeling comes over you, think about the feeling of jealousy. Hold it for just a moment and feel it, and accept that moment as a manifestational indication, and then describe what other emotions describe the feeling of jealousy. What else is present there?
I think there's a feeling of lack and
insecurity.
Not a feeling of not knowing. So not being in the place of knowing that I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve.
So the place of insecurity, of not being able to guide this the way I really want to. Insecurity really is the best matching word for that feeling of jealousy, isn't it?
Yes.
So then, now let your past, immediate or beyond, go back as far as you can. In other words, maybe to childhood, but go back to wherever it lights the most. So now fixate on the word insecurity and see if you can find an experience or a thought or something that you were saying where that also was present.
Yes.
Want to talk about that?
Well, when I was 6, my parents had this big fight, and my dad threw my mom's handbag down the stairs and said, "Get out." And I was just playing at the foot of the stairs, and I was really afraid that my mom was going to leave and my whole world was going to collapse. And it was all about money and finances, because my parents' finances were really in tough shape at that point. And I think I'd been really oblivious to finances before that, and it just kind of hit me.
All right, so it's interesting that feeling came up. So then what happened?
Then I think I tuned out.
We think you did too, but what happened around that? In other words, that was your first startling awareness. In other words, that was a really dramatic awareness that your parents didn't feel the way about each other that you wanted them to feel. In other words, we can't think of a better story that depicts a feeling of childhood insecurity. Can you?
No.
So now let's just take that story. Did they separate?
No.
So that fear that they would was erroneous, because they didn't. So that's worth talking about. They didn't actually. And that moment, while it was dramatic and uncomfortable, and while you were changed forever because of it, because your worldview looked different from then on, because you saw that sort of eruption that was so dramatic and new in their experience, and therefore in your life experience. But then life went on, didn't it? And did their finances ever improve?
It was up and down. They improved sometimes, but there was always a feeling of wanting more than they had.
All right, so even though the true trauma of that past, and your whole world didn't fall apart in the way that you feared that it would in the moment of that awful fight, it was the beginning of you worrying about money. It
Yes.
was the beginning of your personal insecurity, wasn't it?
Yes.
So now sort of resonate with that, and you can feel it completely. And now talk to yourself from what you now know about that. In other words, knowing what you now know. In other words, this is a sort of clearing process, isn't it? Knowing what you now know. Was there any reason for you to feel insecure about that?
No, I think there wasn't. There was always a stream of love for me, and that I was always safe, and everything was going to be provided for me, and everything has been provided for me.
So that explosive moment that took you from your place of childhood connection into a place that felt awful, you sort of left it right there. In other words, your vibration is where you last left it. And since you didn't go back and relive that and talk it into a better place, then you left it in a place of insecurity that is inaccurate, erroneous. It doesn't apply. It doesn't fit the laws of the universe as you know them to be. It doesn't even fit your parental experience, does it?
No.
And so that, you just cleaned that up there. You see. Now, we're not suggesting that your jealousy is now gone as a result of that, but it's in a different place. And if the feeling comes up again and you follow the same process, it may take you to another experience and another. And as you clean that up, it doesn't take very many times before you've left that in a whole different place. Because jealousy is about insecurity. That's one facet of it. It's also about shortage. You mentioned that. And so each time it comes over you and you address it, it may take you to a little different facet, which you have the opportunity to clean up. But before you know it, with far less effort than it takes to learn QuickBooks on your computer, you've cleaned it up. And then a feeling of jealousy in any moment feels as silly as it now feels as you go back and relive that.
Great.
So now let's feel for the vibrational indicator, the manifestational indication. Is there any feeling of jealousy in your being right now?
Yeah, there's a little, yeah.
So,
and it's not very strong. It's definitely less strong than it was before. Like,
yes.
I just feel more of a, it's going to be all okay. It's all okay.
So would you even use the word jealousy to define it?
I guess not. I guess if I was looking for it, I could find it. But if I don't go digging for it,
it's not even really there, is it?
No, it's not really
active. In other words,
active.
it's not active. We don't feel it within you. You might use a different word. You might not be completely tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You might not say, I feel utterly secure in every aspect of my experience. But we think that it shifted pretty dramatically just in that little bit of time, which is our way of saying to you that with that little bit of effort, your manifestation changed already.
I can feel that.
You see?
Yeah.
So there's post-manifestational awareness and pre-manifestational awareness, and it doesn't matter which it is. In other words, it doesn't matter if you get the feeling and you do something about it. We really like this new way, and it is new since yesterday, of saying that whatever you're living is a vibrational indication of a vibration. So figure out what it's indicating, look for other places where it's been vibrating, and then do your best to clean it up. And before you know it, your resistance is gone.
Yeah, I love that. That's
yes, indeed.
Wonderful. Okay, one last question.
Yes.
Well, say there's a candidate that many people really, really love and other people really, really hate. Would you think that was a really electable candidate?
The fact that there is such an active vibration around that person is a really, really good sign. Because, and the reason that we're taking our time here is because there's something really powerful in this question that we want to find the nugget of. If you said, there is a candidate that nobody knows about, or you said there's a candidate that a lot of people know about and they're all really pushing against, we would say a candidate that a lot of people are pushing against is a much more viable candidate than a candidate that nobody knows anything about, because the vibration around them is so active. It's interesting when you heard us say earlier, and we think this is at the heart of your question, when you look at something that you want and you say yes to it, you attract it into your experience. When you look at something and you say no to it, you attract it into your experience. So this candidate that has a whole lot of people that are saying yes and calling them, and a whole lot of people that are saying no and calling them, pretty good candidate.
Great. All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. of what value is a candidate anyway? How do they represent you? You cast your votes vibrationally. You need them not at all. They're playing a whole other game that has very little to do with you. Unless you're in politics, mind your own business.